54% of people in the north thought the north will still be in the UK within 10 years. In the south, 59% believed that that Ireland will still be in the UK. And about the only one they all agreed on is that after 25 years, Northern Ireland will no longer be in the UK. What do you think is the realistic timeline? And let me put it in the context. We come back to the Oireachtas Committee report on the Good Friday Agreement that you chaired and contributed to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you would have seen, I'll just pull it over, the Economist magazine. Like that was that one last year in February.
And is it The Economist?
Yeah, they ran that on the front cover in February last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to the journalists. I went up to Belfast to meet them, and I arranged for them to go to the White House to meet the Chief of Staff at the time, and of course the people that I had done research with on unionist fears and concerns and the issue of returning to violence, with experts in countering violent extremism, and Obama's appointee on the issue of preventing violent extremism. And we had a good chat on it. And I mean, there's a number of issues which are now coming in a confluence. One is, of course, demographics. But like what you have now is a triple minority. You have a unionist minority and a nationalist minority, and you have the crowd in the middle. And that crowd in the middle will expand and contract depending on issues. You have the situation in Scotland. And as one of the contributors to this is a unionist, James Wilson. And James made a very interesting point about what happens if Scotland leaves? And his point was, well, if Scotland leaves, that's like the mothership. Because their connection to the United Kingdom is through Scotland, not through England. And if Scotland is no longer part of the United Kingdom, then why are they still in it? So that is really one of the key issues along with Brexit. So if it was just Brexit on its own and there was no demographics and there was no Scotland, it'd muddle through. But you add in Brexit, you add in Scottish independence, and you add in demographics, now you have a different dynamic. And that confluence of those three issues is what has everybody talking about a United Ireland.
So these are kind of external shocks to Northern Ireland. There's no control over what happens with Scotland. There's a little control over what happens with the...
Well, it had a lot of control over Brexit, but they squandered. In fact, if you go to the Economist magazine today, they talk about how the unionists have done more for United Ireland than 40 years of the Troubles by the IRA. That they had an ability to accept Theresa May's deal, which would give them the best of both worlds, and they threw it away. And now they're the ones that negotiated the protocol. The unionists negotiated the protocol. Because by default, by not accepting Theresa May's deal, they basically accepted Boris Johnson's deal, which was protocol and Northern Ireland effectively being in the European Union.
So how does this work? You have electorally 40% hard unionists, or mainly pretty hard unionists, 40% pretty hard nationalists, and then 20% in the middle.
Yeah, which expands and contracts.
Which goes out and in. So essentially, if that middle sides with nationalism, you don't really need to bring hard unionists on board.
But unionists aren't going to come on board. They're not going to vote for United Ireland. I think a lot of people have this misconception that, if we do the following things, that unionists will vote for a United Ireland. Mm-hmm. And you have to walk in the other man's shoes And the way you walk in the other man's shoes is say, well, okay, if a deal was being put in place for us to rejoin the United Kingdom, and they started talking about protect identity and respect the flag and do this and do that and all the other stuff, would we vote to join the United Kingdom? Not in a million years.
I don't know if you saw the article by Peter Cardwell in the Irish Times earlier this week. He is a former advisor to two secretaries of state, and he called himself a unionist with a small u.
Right.
But he wrote, in a way, he was writing about two things. One was the Claire Byrne program,
Yeah.
and the other was Jim O'Callaghan's
Oh, yes, sorry, I saw that.
paper. And he said, the key tenet of unionism is its inflexibility. And he says, what's the point unionists say of saying they'd be more influential in a Dublin Parliament they are in a London one, when you're saying they would be more influential in a country they don't want to belong to in the first place, and doesn't share some of its fundamental beliefs. And he goes on to say that unionists are not ready yet. They're not emotionally ready for a conversation about a unified Ireland yet. Could you hazard a guess as to what he means by they're not emotionally ready?
I mean, I think that, like, I've had conversations with unionists. I've had offers from loyalists that they would act as sounding boards on a United Ireland. So it's what I learned from the research report I did on unionist fears and concerns of United Ireland. I have them all here. I'll show you. I don't know did I give you the box set, but this is the box set. Like, these are all the different.
You gave them to me. I had to haul them across the Atlantic. Okay.
There's the report, but this is the 6 reports on other things. I don't know did I give you the box set at the time.
You did give me the box, yeah.
Box, like, I mean, one there.
They're actually behind me.
Oh, is it? So there's 40, like we have 40 shades of green, there's 40 shades of orange. So like, it's not that political unionism isn't emotionally ready, but they're not going to, as Arlene Foster said, like, why would we, like, they're not, she said that on the Spotlight program about engaging, like, they're not going to negotiate their way out of the United Kingdom. They're going to put forward the argument for the union and maintaining the union. That's what they're doing. But you have a lot of, we'd say, what was described to me as small U unionists, garden centre unionists. This is now their own phraseology, so I'm not using anything other than their own phraseology. So make sure that's clear. Is golf club unionists, bridge club unionists, like, who are kind of saying, well, if it does come, I wouldn't be as against it, and that's like the days you would imagine, but you could never tell in Ireland, the days of like 200,000-300,000 people arriving at Belfast City Hall, they're dwindling. Those days are dwindling because the conversation has started. Unionists are talking to themselves. They're talking about it. They're talking to me and they're talking to others about it. And like, it's a discussion that's ongoing and it's going to keep going. Like, there's no doubt about it. And if Scotland votes for independence and is given a chance and then votes for independence, then, along with demographic shifts, but again, that's a long way off. Like, whatever, like, it's about a voting majority, not just there's the majority of theoretical nationalists. It has to be a voting majority. And then you have the ongoing issue of Brexit. Mm-hmm. So that three combined. So political union isn't going to negotiate with political nationalism, but unionists are having discussions and are talking to people. And they've been before, like Ireland's Future, Francis, as you know, has had a number of unionists before them. So they're emotionally ready. They can talk about it. So you know what I mean? There's 40 shades of unionism, some of which they're like not talking about it, won't talk about it. And there are others who are.
So could you just summarize for me the main findings of the Oireachtas Committee?
The main findings of the 1,300